Okay, this is the the Kitzer Shulchan Aruch. We're in chapter 4, Siman Dalet, and we're going to start talking about the Asher Yatzar Baracha. You say when you after you relieve yourself, and so you know what that is. It's blessed you, Hashem our God, ruler of the universe, who fashioned man with wisdom and created within him many openings, many cavities. It is obvious known before your throne of glory, but if one of them were to be ruptured or one of them were to be blocked, it would be impossible to survive and to stand before you for even an hour. Blessed you, Hashem, who heals all flesh and acts wondrously. And some people say that that's a segula for health. Okay, so proper practices in the laboratory and laws of the Asher Yatzar Baracha. You must accustom yourself to move your bowels in the evening and in the morning, because this habit is conducive to vitality and cleanliness. If you are unable to do so, you should walk 4 amot and sit and stand and sit, repeating this procedure until you move your bowels, or you should divert your thoughts from other matters. If you delay going to the laboratory, you transgress the prohibition of Baal Tishaketsu, where it says in Leviticus 11:43, it says, "Do not make yourself detestable." So there are halachic authorities that say that that's not necessary, but this is what the Kitzer Shulchan Aruch says, so we're not going to debate that topic at this point. So if you delay urinating when you feel the urge, you also transgress the prohibition against bringing about sterility. So next, you should act modestly in the laboratory. You should not expose yourself until you sit down. Then you should be careful to expose only those parts of the body that are absolutely necessary in order not to soil your clothing. You should be careful in this practice at night, just as during the day. If you move your bowels in an open area around which there are no partitions, you should position your body so that your front face is southward and your back is toward the north, or the reverse. But to be positioned between east and west is prohibited. If there is a partition, you may move your bowels facing any direction if your back is toward the partition. When urinating, you may face any direction. You must not move your bowels in front of any person, including a Gentile. However, urinating is permissible, even during the daytime, even in the presence of many people, when you must, because it is dangerous to your health to refrain from urinating when the need arises. Nevertheless, you should turn aside when doing so. This was written, like we said previously, this was written in 1864, I believe. So this is, the days of outhouses and fields. Okay, you should not move your bowels while standing. You should not strain yourself more than necessary. In order not to rupture the glands of the rectum, you should not hasten to leave the laboratory until you are sure that you no longer require it. When you urinate while standing, be careful that the urine doesn't splash on your shoes and clothing. You should also be very careful not to hold in your hand the organ which was circumcised. In the laboratory, it is forbidden to think about Torah matters, as is stated later in chapter 5. It says, therefore, while you are there, it is best to think of business affairs and accounts in order not to think of Torah, or God forbid, indulge in sinful thoughts. On Shabbos, when it is forbidden to think of business, you should think of interesting events that you saw or heard, or think about politicians. You should be careful to clean yourself well, because if you have eaten the slightest amount of excrement at the opening of the rectum, you are forbidden to utter any sacred word. You should not clean yourself with your right hand. You should not clean yourself with your right hand, because this hand is used to tie the tefillin. And obviously it's opposite if you're left-handed. Because of this reason, you should also not clean yourself with the middle finger of the left hand, because the tefillin strap is tied around it. A left-handed person should clean himself with his right hand, because his left hand is like everybody else's right hand. Okay. After each defecation and urination, even of one drop, you should wash your hands with water and recite the Baracha Asher Yatzar. If you urinated or moved your bowels and forgot to recite the Baracha Asher Yatzar, and after urinating or moving your bowels again, you remembered that you did not recite the Baracha, you need to recite the Baracha only once. After drinking a laxative that induces diarrhea, and you know that you will need the laboratory numerous times, you should not recite the Baracha until after all excrement has been passed. Okay, chapter 5, cleanliness of the place used for a sacred purpose. It is written, "You shall cover your excrement, because Hashem your God walks in the midst of your camp. Your camp shall be holy, and there shall not be seen, excuse me, be seen in you any unclean thing." Devarim 23:14-15. From here, sages of blessed memory infer that wherever Hashem our God walks with us, meaning when we are engaged in a sacred matter such as reciting the Shema, or prayers like the tefillah, or study, Torah, or the like, the place must be holy. No uncovered excrement should be found there, nor any nakedness be visible in the presence of the person reciting the Shema or praying. Okay. Even to think of sacred things in a place with excrement or urine or anything with a foul odor is forbidden unless it is covered. As it is said, you shall cover your excrement. And that actually reminds me of something. So the other day I was praying, and I have an old Siddur that's a little bit bigger that I was using for something. But in certain sections of it, it has the smell of mold. And sometimes it's not as prevalent. But I realized this, and I had to stop and get a different Siddur and restart, because it was actually considered a foul odor. So it was certainly, it certainly diverts your attention. So stuff like that is something that it's talking about, or there's other things that can happen, right? In this case of urine, you may pour a revi'it of water into the urine. It is immaterial if the urine was originally in a vessel and you then poured the water into it, or if the water was in the vessel first. So it's interesting because our toilets work like this today. But if the urine was in a trough specifically designed for it, the mixture with water does not help, as it explained later in paragraph 13. For 2 urinations, we require 2 revi'it of water, and so on. Even if the urine was absorbed into the ground or in a garment, as long as there remains some moisture from it, water must be poured over it. If there is some excrement on the body, even if it is covered with clothing, it is forbidden to speak about sacred things, as it is said, "All my bones shall say, Hashem, who is like you." Tehillim 35:10, Psalm 35:10. Therefore, the entire body must be clean. Some authorities are lenient in this matter, but it is proper to follow the stricter opinion. If there is even the slightest bit of excrement on the edge of the anus, even if it is covered, according to all opinions, it is of no avail, because in its original place it is more loathsome. In the case of one ill with hemorrhoids, see Magen Avraham 76a, who quotes from the responsa of the Radvaz, Volume 3, 315. The Magen Avraham concludes that such a person is not required to do anything in order to pray, as long as there's no odor, of course. This is true only if the hemorrhoids are external without pus. If they are internal and there is constant seepage of internal odorous matter, one must not pray or utter sacred words. That's a note at the bottom. Okay. Wherever there is any doubt concerning the existence of excrement or urine, we must take care not to utter a holy word until the place is examined. We should not pray in a house in which there is filth in the attic or another floor, it says. In the case of an infant, if others of his age are able to consume a kazait of grain even when cooked, in the time that an adult can eat a quantity of bread equal to a pras, in the Migdal Oz, authored by the great Gaon Ya'avetz, as it states that this refers to a child of 1 year. We must distance ourselves from his excrement or his urine. It is even preferable to keep away from the excrement of an infant who is merely 8 days old. Okay, we must keep a distance from the excrement of a person even when there is no foul odor. This also applies to the excrement of a cat, weasel, or from an it says Edomi hen, a turkey. Excrements from other animals, beasts, or birds probably do not have a foul odor, and we need not distance ourselves. However, if there is a foul odor or a foul-smelling carcass, and anything with a foul odor caused by decay, or from a chicken coop, we must keep a distance. We must also keep a distance from foul-smelling water. Standing water in which flax or hemp was soaked ordinarily emit a foul odor, and we must distance ourselves from them just as from excrement. When excrement has become so dry that it crumbles when rolled, it is considered as dust. provided it does not have a foul odor. However, if it becomes frozen, since it can revert to its original state when the weather becomes warm, it is still considered excrement. Excrement which is covered with snow is considered covered. Okay, how much must we distance ourselves? If the excrement is behind you, you must keep a distance of 4 amot from the spot where the foul odor ceases. Even if you are unable to smell anything, you must keep the same distance as if you actually did smell something. If it has no odor, it is sufficient to keep a distance of 4 amot. If the excrement is in front of you, you must remove yourself as far as the eye can see. Even at night, you must keep the same distance you would keep if it were day. If the excrement is to your side, the same strictness applies as if it were in front of you, and you should therefore turn aside so that it will be behind you. If excrement is found in a house in which a congregation prays, or though it is found behind the chazan and is distanced from him 4 amot from the point at which the odor ceases, he nevertheless must remain silent and wait until it is removed or covered, because it is impossible that one of the congregation should not be within 4 amot from the place where the odor ceases. This man is forbidden to listen and to pay attention to what the chazan is saying. Okay, if you prayed and later found that the place contained excrement, if it was a place that should have been inspected for possible excrement and you neglected to inspect it, since the prayer of the Shemona Esrei is in place of a sacrificial offering, this scriptural verse is applicable. The sacrifice of the wicked is abominable. Proverbs 21:27, Mishlei 21:27. And you are therefore required to repeat the Shemona Esrei. Similarly, in regard to Shema, which is a biblical command, since there is no problem of reciting a bracha in vain, you must again recite the Shema without the brachot. Likewise, other brachot recited there, and even the Birkat Hamazon, need not be repeated. If the place is one that did not require inspection for excrement, you are not considered negligent. And even in regard to Shemona Esrei, your obligation is fulfilled. If urine is found, even in a place where its existence should have been suspect, your obligation is fulfilled even in regard to Shemona Esrei. If a person flatulates, he is forbidden to utter anything holy until the odor evaporates. If his neighbor flatulates, he also must wait until the odor evaporates. But if he is engaged in studying Torah, it is not necessary for him to wait for the odor to evaporate when it is emitted from his neighbor. In the case of a laboratory, even if it has partitions and has no excrement, we must keep a distance from it when praying. Therefore, a seat in which there is a hole under which a container is placed to retrieve excrement, even if the container is removed and the hole is covered with a board, this seat nevertheless is regarded halachically as a laboratory and must be removed from the house or the room, or completely covered. However, there are chairs designated for sitting and covered with a cushion, and when the need arises, the pillow is removed and the chair is used as a toilet. The pillow is then returned to its place. In this case, we may be lenient. Okay, a bedpan for holding excrement or a urinal. If they are made of earthenware or wood, are regarded as a laboratory, even if they are clean and have no foul odor, and even if water is poured into them or they are inverted, it is of no avail. Even if they were under a bed, it is of no avail, because our beds do not serve as partitions. Rather, they must be removed from the house or covered. If they are made of metal or glass, if they are washed well and have no foul odor, there is no need to keep a distance from them. With regard to the mouth of a hog, since it pecks at excrement, it has the status of a bedpan. Even if the hog emerges from a river, the washing does not change its status. So they mentioned earthenware or wood. So I don't know halakhically what the designation of plastic is, like, something that they might use at a hospital. But plastic, just as a reminder, comes from petroleum that they get out of the earth. So I don't know if halakhically it's considered earthenware or not, but that would be a... Okay, in a bathhouse, it is also forbidden to speak or to think about sacred matters. It is also forbidden to mention the specific names of the Holy One, blessed be He, even in a secular language. For example, Gott in German, G-O-T-T, or in any other language. In a bath, so like the word, I guess the word God probably is equivalent to that word in German. Similarly, it is forbidden to extend shalom to your friend there, because shalom is the name of the Holy One, blessed be He. It's one of the names of God. It is as it is said, and he called it Hashem Shalom. Judges Shoftim 6:24. Gideon built an altar and named it Hashem Shalom. Regarding a person whose name is Shalom, some authorities forbid calling him by his name in the above mentioned places. Others permit it, since the intent is not the concept of peace, but merely to mention the name of a particular person. Our practice is to be lenient. However, a God-fearing person should preferably adopt the stricter view. Okay, it is forbidden to speak words of Torah or other sacred words in the presence of nakedness, whether your own or another's. Even a small child's nakedness is included. An exception is for the mitzvah of milah, so circumcision, when a bracha may be recited in the presence of the child's nakedness. Even closing the eyes in order not to see the nakedness does not suffice, since it is in front of you, but you should turn your face and body away from the nakedness. With regard to the body of a woman, any place that is customarily covered for modesty, of which a tafach is revealed, is considered nakedness. The hair of a married woman should be covered, and if part of her hair is revealed, it is the same category as nakedness as far as a man is concerned. There is no distinction between his wife or any other woman. However, when it is exposed in the presence of another woman, it is not considered nakedness. The voice of a woman while singing is also considered nakedness. Nevertheless, an unavoidable circumstance is when you hear a woman sing and cannot prevent it, you should not refrain from reciting the Shema, prayers, or Torah. Rather, you should concentrate intensely upon the sacred subjects in which you are engaged and pay no attention to their singing. If your heart sees your own nakedness, even if your private parts were covered, as when wearing a robe, it is also forbidden to recite any sacred text. You must either wear trousers which cling to your body, or put on a belt, or place your arms against your robe in order to create a separation between your heart and your nakedness. A woman is not required to do this. So that's why there's the gartel, I think, that like the Hasidim wear on the robes. Some people, wear that. It's to separate your heart from the lower part of your body.